What's up, guys? Welcome back.
Welcome back to the air fresheners.
How are you today, Kristina?
Awkward pause. I'm great. I feel like we've been trying to record this episode for like 5 hours now.
Yeah, I remember I woke up this morning and you called me and you're like, "Hey, I'll be there at 11."
Now it's 3:30.
And here we go.
It's okay. It's Saturday. I feel like
yeah.
you have to give yourself a few days a week, especially on the weekend, to just not like follow the guidelines that you think the day is gonna have. Like, then I was stuck in traffic and I was like, you know what, like, why am I getting frustrated? Like, I have no like time restrictions. It's like I just create those in my head.
It's very true. Yeah.
I think we both do
especially
that,
on a Saturday.
Yeah, like I feel like we both do that. We like to have like the next like 3 steps planned out.
Yeah, always.
Which is really fun to like be around people that aren't like that, and they're like so frustrated.
Yeah, I remember that time that we went out to the pier. And I was like, so what are we doing later? We hadn't even got there yet.
Everyone was like, we're not even there yet, Steven. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It's like,
just nice to have a plan. What can I say?
I know. I'm just like always excited for the next thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, how are you?
I'm great. It's been a good day. I did have some structure.
Did you have structure?
I woke
you
up
did.
At 6 o'clock today and hit 2 workouts before 11. And I'm not drinking again.
Oh, yeah. We have to clarify this.
Yeah, so I'm not drinking again for 75 days, including Thanksgiving, my trip to Mexico, Christmas, New Year's, and Kristina's birthday.
He's fucking stupid.
Doing this thing is called 75 Hard. If you look it up, it explains it.
75 stupid. Go ahead.
So, yeah, 75 Hard. I'm doing that. But I've realized I'm kind of a masochist for my self-discipline. And,
yeah, it's all or nothing with him. Yeah. Like, he's either like...
It's fun. I don't know. I get so much enjoyment out of torturing myself.
It's very Gemini of you.
Yeah.
Like, you're either like full party or full discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no middle.
Discipline's just felt like really good lately. I don't know what it is, but...
It's going to feel really good when you have to go through the holidays with no alcohol.
I'm going to go... I'm taking like a 5-day trip to Mexico. And
yeah,
I'm not drinking in Mexico.
Are you going to do other drugs at least?
I mean,
it's Mexico.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what's out there.
That's so great.
Yeah. But today...
What are we talking about today?
Talking about money.
Money.
Yes.
What about money?
Everything. Everything good about, like, you know, childhood patterns, the ways that we perceive it, the importance of it, the history of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Just kind of like just go with the conversation.
Yeah.
Do you feel like... I feel like I'm in the middle of like all of my money patterns changing. Like, I feel like 2020 was like a huge like eye-opening year for me and like what my relationship with money actually is.
For sure.
Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, totally. I because getting the new job now, it really put me into a position of like, okay, I have this now, but just because I have it doesn't mean I'm good. Like, I have to keep up with my spending, my saving, investing. Like, I have to be careful with it now, because before, like, if I didn't have that much, it just comes and goes, paycheck to paycheck, didn't think anything of it. But now it's like I have a much bigger responsibility on my shoulders to manage my money wisely.
Right.
So
because it's not as like up and down.
Yeah.
Makes sense, because it's like, okay, the more money you have, the more consistency I think is important. Mm-hmm. Because if you go on like crazy like spending sprees and things like that, you're just like, oh shit, like now I'm back to the beginning.
Trip
you
here,
know,
trip there. Wow, I made all this money. Where'd my money go?
Right. It like you kind of your mind kind of tricks you into thinking you have more.
Yeah.
So I think the mentality of like living simple regardless of how much money, like really checking yourself, like, no, I don't need that other coffee out, I have coffee at home, or no, I don't have to spend that much money. Like, controlling your wants compared to what you need, I think, is always what like it comes down to with saving. Yeah, you know,
I totally agree with that for sure. And that, touching on that perspective too, there's a really good book. It's called The Millionaire Next Door, and I read it, I think, back when I was like 18 or 19, but it basically talks about like how a majority of millionaires that the people who wrote this book interviewed, They're people that you wouldn't expect. Like, they still drive like a Toyota Corolla. They still live in a modest house.
Rich
They
people are cheap as fuck.
Yeah. They still have like just all these basic things. They're just not overspending on their money.
Makes sense.
And a lot of people that have like the flashy car or stuff like that, it's either financed or they're really pushing themselves to the limit on how much they're spending compared to how much they're making. Not always the case, but like a majority of the time. So
right. It's like the excitement of having money.
Yeah.
Like, you can almost tell when people are like flaunting it or whatever. It's like, oh, this must be new for you. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Like, you see Mark Zuckerberg wears the same shirt every day, the same pants every day.
Right.
Doesn't change anything. He's not wearing a Rolex. He's not wearing, like, it's there's a big difference on that level of rich and then like the brand new rapper who just bought like a $50,000 chain with his $55,000 paycheck.
Yeah. And it's like, that's part of their identity, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, whatever his name is, Mark Zuckerberg, like, he doesn't like, that's not what he's known for. You know what I mean? What he's known for is like sitting behind a computer and creating like this stupid platform. Yeah. But like, you know what I mean? It doesn't fit like his aesthetic or like his
even like Elon
title.
Musk and like Warren Buffett and all them, like, they're very, very modest, but like, you know, they're the richest people in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like I get the ego flex of like, hey, I'm making this much money. Look at my Louis V. Look at my nice car. Look at all this. And like, to some extent, like, obviously enjoy yourself. It's nice to have like the finer things in life. But like, if you're just buying stuff just to like show it off for other people, like, what's the point?
Right. It's like, there is a good middle ground. And I think it takes like time after you do have like a lot of money consistently to like figure out that balance of like, yeah, I can take nice vacations and I can enjoy my time, but you don't live that way 24/7. Like, I think people get wrapped up in the idea that money, as soon as they have money, they're going to be happy. But like, we always forget that like money or like happiness is an emotion. Like, you're not going to reach happiness, right? And live there forever. Like, of course, money assists in happiness. I think you can, like we've talked about, like, just it frees you from a lot of different things, and you know, life is easier with money. But I don't think you're gonna reach this like elevated place once you're a millionaire. You know what I mean? Like, you're still gonna, like, people still have fucking issues with money. Like, you know, like, I don't know, I just feel like people put this like perception of money like solving everything, but if you internally have a lot of things to work through, like, money's not gonna make you feel better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally agree with that for sure. And I think, like, of course there's a good balance, and it depends on the person, because like, if you can't pay your bills, if you can't buy medicine, if you can't feed your family, if you can't do these things, but then you're saying money doesn't buy happiness, like, well, you're obviously not happy because you literally can't live. Like, you don't have a quality of living, and the only thing that would make that different is if you had money. But then, like, there's millionaires and billionaires who completely neglect their family, their friends, everything on the inside, their health. They don't take care of themselves. They're the most miserable people ever. They have drug problems, whatever it may be. They have all the money in the world, but they haven't addressed what's inside of them, and they carry that baggage with them all the way from having nothing to having $1 billion. So it's like, it's wisely spending your money on ways to improve your life while working on yourself at the same time. But yeah, money won't buy you happiness, but it can buy you a better quality of living for sure.
Like, when you're, like you're saying, if you're struggling for like the necessary things in life, like, how am I going to pay rent? What am I going to eat? I don't have any money. Like, when it's that type of like desperate need, you do need money. Like, that's where like money is in everything that we get to do. Like, the reason we have this podcast, the reason people are listening to this, like, you can thank money for that, because if you didn't have money, you wouldn't be able to do anything. So it is like an exchange of freedom and like living. Like, you need it to live. And people that just say like, oh, like, you know, just like the things we've heard growing up, like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we like living in that lack mentality, like, your relationship with money isn't going to work. It's like, think of money as like a friend or someone, like a person. And when you think of it like that, like, what is your relationship with them? Like, how do you look at your bank account? What is the energy of you going into your bank app and looking at what's there? Like, are you dreading it? Like, it's like a relationship. So like, if the energy between you and your money situation is negative, what do you think is going to happen? Like,
very true. Yeah.
I don't think people look at it like that. They think of it as like once I learned that, probably within the past like few years, I was like, oh, it just makes sense. Like, I've been going at it the wrong way. It's like, why am I fighting this when it's really like the universe is trying to work with me?
It wants to give it to you. We
just
fight back and we resist it, and we don't give it attention. We don't track it. We don't monitor it. We don't appreciate it. We don't, like, it's literally like, if it, one of the things that they talk about a lot is like, things, if you track it, it will grow. And so the people, like, I'm super guilty of this. Like, this, the reason why I've had issues with money in the past is that I would get money when I was working my old job, and I would literally just sit there and like swipe my card. Didn't want to check my bank account, go out on a Friday night, Saturday night, completely leave it alone. It's the child sitting in the corner. And then all of a sudden I swipe my card, I get denied, and I'm like, fuck. That's right, because I neglected it. But then the times in my life of like where I've been proactive, I keep up with like a budget, my expenses, my spending. It just so happens that I'm also making more money when I keep track of it like that. And when I'm not keeping track of it, it seems like I start losing money and don't have as much luck.
Right, because you're using it. You're just like, oh, like, I want to get as much out of this as I can. Yeah. And it's like, you're like not looking at like the relationship of it. Like, why am I just ignoring the actual, why am I looking to spend money? You know, that's a big thing for me. Like, retail therapy has been like, it sounds so funny, but like, I think it is an actual issue. Like, at least for me, because it's like a great like distraction.
It's in the making for you.
It is. I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse, but like walking around a store.
Of these pairs of pants.
I'm a girl. I'm allowed to have 7 colors. I can't wear the same 4 things every day. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just like, it also is a way to like, so you feel good about yourself, of course, but it's also a distraction. Like, I like just walking around a store and not like thinking about work. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost like people that like to drink, or it's just any sort of like outlet, I guess, of distraction. Like, some people like to watch TV for 6 hours. Like, I rather like go to the mall and look at things that would look good on me.
And then you get like that dopamine of like receiving something new, and like you feel good. But like, just like anything, like even if I was to go out and get like my dream car, like, I go out and
How great does that feel?
Yeah, I buy a Ferrari today, and I'm like, okay, sweet, I get to drive it. The newness, it's there. It's like unfamiliar. I've got it. I'm enjoying it for like a week or two, but eventually, like, it's still just gonna become a car.
Right.
The newness is worn off, and then I'm like, wow, well, now I'm $300,000 less rich, even though I have this car, but it's not as exciting as it was when I first got it.
Right.
Like,
it like filled a void for a little bit,
but it's not like eternal happiness, and like it's not lasting.
Right. What was like a childhood pattern that you remember, like, about money? Like, how was your parents' relationship with money?
Not the most positive, but I don't expressly remember them having like money issues in front of me.
Okay.
In like the core years of when that would have been a thing. There was a few issues, but I do remember a few instances of like when I would hear my parents say like they literally said like, money doesn't grow on trees, or like, what do you think I'm made of, money, or like told me to get a job when I was like 6 or 7, just like as a joke, but like I asked for something and then that was what it was.
Right.
So like all those little tiny like habits and patterns that like the cliche ones, they definitely were like a thing, which I think comes from our parents' generation, and it was passed down by their parents. And
you have to think about their parents were in the Great Depression. My mom made me like very aware of that. True. Like, my grandparents like survived that, and everything was very, very like, they didn't have a lot of anything. Like, you would have to be cheap, and you would have to be like, you reuse things multiple times, and it's like, that was their mindset. So when you grow up with that, of course, I don't think our parents were really aware of those patterns of unprogramming and things like that we're able to see now.
Yeah.
So of course they like live that same like lack mindset of money and of like food and things like that. So I don't know. It's just like an interesting perspective to see where that came from, like generationally.
Yeah, and it's cool too, because I feel like now that our generation is like becoming so aware of like, you know, trauma from that was passed down from like our family and things of that nature. We're finally in a position now of where when we acknowledge these things, we're like, well, now I can change this. Like I can literally put my foot down in the bloodline and I can like alter this and make every person that comes after me like financially successful or like smarter with money. Like if I ever decide to have kids, like I can teach them the habits that I'm picking up, not the habits that were passed down to me from my family.
Right. You have a choice to change how you think about it.
Yeah.
And I think we're like the first ones to be able to be conscious of that.
Yeah, which is, it's really cool. It's a lot of responsibility, but like it's really cool to just be able to like start from scratch and say like, I've had enough of this pattern.
Right.
I'm going to start doing things differently, and it's empowering.
Like I deserve more, for sure. I've been pretty much like restructuring my prices for photography and figuring out like branding packages, and you know, like every year I try. Actually, this year I've probably looked over this much more than past years, and finding like a set amount of knowing like my worth. Like it doesn't matter if it's like 20 photos or 30 photos, or it doesn't matter who it is, I need to make this set amount regardless. And like, I never understood before that being firm in that isn't a negative thing. You know, like I feel like I've struggled with like that form of self-worth for a long time, because if it's my friend, of course I'm like, oh well, I like shooting with you, so I'm not going to charge you as much. You know what I mean? So it's like there's certain things like that, but it just has to be a certain amount of like close friends that's okay with. But what I'm really charging for is my time, because I could be making that money somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And it's respecting yourself and saying, this is what I'm worth, and like I'm not going to waver from it because I know that it's going to come in a different way. It's like trusting that the universe will provide it, and stand like when you stand firm in it, you don't have to be in this like lack all the time.
Agreed.
You know,
and I feel like also having that confidence of like, this is my worth, this is my prices, like whether you like it or not, that attitude and that like energy that you're putting out there will attract way more of the right people to you, like people that would happily pay your prices, and better quality people too.
True.
So like if you're just like, hey, I'll do your pictures for like $50, like it's very different, different. And that's even when I was shooting and I was doing most of my stuff for free, because like I just couldn't justify charging people. Like you could just, it wasn't what it should have been.
Right.
Like the quality of the pictures and my energy towards it just wasn't right.
It feels like when you low budget or like lowball yourself on like your worth, it makes your product not as much quality either. So if I was to charge like say $100 for 20 photos, which is like too much, you're getting too much for $100, that makes it look like each photo isn't as good as if it was very like $250 for 20 photos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you think of the quality of those 20 photos differently depending on how much you paid for them.
Yeah.
You know?
That's very true. Just like if you walked into like a store and there was two brands, like me personally, I'm not the type that would buy the generic brand most of the time. Like I would rather like the trusted and true version that is a little bit more expensive, that I know is going to be guaranteed good quality every single time. So it's same thing with like photography.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people that are looking for good work, they're going to see your prices and they're going to be like, yes, I'll pay that because I know it's going to be good.
Right. It's like standing in that worth too. So
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's like a bunch of things that I'm like learning as I go, like as you get older, that you're like becoming aware of, like, oh, like I have to work with money, not that money's like working against me. And like having that I think that's the biggest thing that I've recognized, that money is an energy form of like how you would work with anything else.
Absolutely.
So I think once you get that and you work on it, And like just reading and being like aware of it, I think is like the biggest step of earning what you should.
Yeah.
You know,
because like that level of awareness, whether you're reading books about it or you're getting mentored from someone or you have a financial advisor, whatever it is, like taking the time to say like, okay, here's my patterns, or here's what I'm doing wrong, or here's how I can do this better. Just like anything else in your life, it's money. It's a big part of our world, whether we like it or not. And if we're not aware of how we're using it and how it's affecting our life, it's just going to control us instead of us controlling it.
Right. And like we even talked about setting like financial goals. I think that's where the importance of that comes in as well, because when you do set that number for 10 years from now or 20 years from now, that starts to align all of your actions you're taking today to get to that goal. Like if you just were never to be like, hey, I want to retire. Like I thought about retirement for the first time ever in my entire life this year. And I was like, oh shit, like I have some work to do. Like if I want to retire with the amount of money that would make me comfortable, like I need to start working now. Like it changes your whole thought process. For you know?
Sure. Yeah, I think that having the financial goals in the future, like you said, like knowing what you're working towards shapes everything out. And even on like a psychological level, like if you don't have a trajectory for your subconscious mind to start working towards, you're just going to end up wherever. It's like driving somewhere without your map plugged in. You're just going to end up somewhere.
Right. Like just aimlessly driving. You're not going to have like, you're not going to end up at this like, well, you know what I mean? Like what are the chances of like millions of dollars landing in your bank account?
You win the lottery or you get into an accident.
People
and get
think
a lawsuit.
that like that's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And it's like only people that don't want to work rely on that.
Yeah.
Like that thought process. Like it's just going to come to me. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to do something?
Because they think that they're going to get lucky and they're going to have a situation like that, or they realize the amount of work that's required and they just want to ignore that work. Those are the only two reasons I could really think of as to why someone wouldn't, set some kind of goal and start working towards it.
Yeah. And I think the big thing is that people don't look at themselves and see what they would want to make money at doing, what they would enjoy making money doing. Like you have to think that through, because like I've talked about this multiple times that I don't know if I'm going to do photography forever, like I don't know if that's going to make me like all my money, but it's like having the openness to like really look at myself and be like, what will I enjoy? Like as soon as photography is not it, like I'm going to have to be honest with myself and change it and figure out the next thing. So I think it's just about looking at yourself honestly.
Yeah, and being able to do something that you love and making money is just like a whole nother, it's a whole nother level, because if you're going into a job that you don't like, which of course everyone has to work these jobs, like it happens, like majority of people have to, but if you take your free time and in your free time you either learn a skill, you learn about an industry you want to be in, or you have a hobby, like say you want to paint or you want to play piano or something like that, figuring out how you can start capitalizing on your skills with that, whether like if you want to play piano and then you start a YouTube channel and record videos of you playing piano and teaching people lessons, and all of a sudden someone reaches out to you and they're like, hey, can you come play at this spot? Like you won't know that these things are possible until you start doing it, until you start putting your active work into it. So I think it's incredibly important to have something on the side that you're working on top of the thing that's paying you for your bills.
Right. I'm like a huge believer in that with photography. Like this year is the first year that I went full time, and I've been doing this since 2013. Like it was not time for me to just quit my job and pursue photography full time. But like I knew that was the goal, right? So it's like building something on the side like you're talking about, and then one day it falls in your lap that it's like it's time. So
it's not right place, right time. Everyone says it's right place, right time, but it's being the right person at the right place at the right time. So
true.
Always preparing yourself, like reading books or learning your skills, doing all these things, because say you're not ready for it, someone comes up to you and they're like, hey, do you want this job? Or hey, can you do this? But you're not the right person for it yet, or you haven't honed your skills or your mindset enough for it. the opportunity is literally going to come, pass you by, and then it's going to go.
Right. Wow, that's a good way to look at that. Well,
Pause.
I felt like this was good. I feel like we'll probably...
Sorry, I said we'll pause.
Oh, I thought we were ending
good.
it.
No, we're good. Yeah, we'll bring it to it. No, that's perfect. We're good. Yeah.
Are you still recording? Are we still recording?
We're still recording.
Okay.
So
are we wrapping this up?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
Just fucking leave all that in there.
We'll leave it in there. You guys
That
just heard the behind the scenes.
clusterfuck. All right. Well, I guess we're done.
Yeah, but money, it's great. Actively work at figuring it out and being self-aware, and yeah.
I think we'll build on this too. I want to I want to get deeper in this, or even having someone that like
is great with money
on here. That'd be nice.
Yeah, we have a few friends that are
good with money.
Yeah.
Not us. Well, I mean, we're growing. We're growing.
We're definitely growing. We're getting there. We're learning our skills.
Yeah. Good way to put it.
Yeah.
All right.
But thank you guys.
Thanks for listening.